thank you again for tuning in. What I'm working on today is radiusing a couple of fingerboards. This is a neck for a rocket guitar, and I'm also doing the first prototype SGTO neck. Now these, at the moment, the fingerboards are completely flat, and I need to put a 12-inch radius on the top surface like that. And for this I will be using my self-made swing sander, which is a, if I can demonstrate that, an adjustable jig which rotates the neck at a given radius over the top of an abrasive belt. There are commercial units like this that you can buy, but I didn't quite like the look of any of them. They didn't look particularly stiff. I wanted it to be extremely rigid, so there's no deflection, and it machines the radius accurately. So I came up with this. It's bolted together aluminium section frame with a carriage which is adjustable up and down to allow me a different adjustment range for different radiuses, although to be honest, everything I made recently is 12-inch radius, so I don't need to move it. There's also a slot here and at the other end, so that allows me with these adjuster screws here to to lower the work onto the belt, so I can take material off gradually. If it was just at a fixed point, you'd have to graunch all of the material off in one pass, and that really wouldn't be a good thing. So I can, start with it just kissing the belt and just lower it down, and I can also inspect either end of the fingerboard and see where it's cutting, more one end than the other, and I can adjust one end up and down. The radius will always remain the same because it's pivoting about this point, and from that point to the face of the board is 12 inches. It took a little bit of dialing in to get it exactly right. So you start by measuring and then discover that the machined radius isn't quite what you think it's going to be. So it took a little bit of dialing in, but it's spot on now, 12 inch. So that radius will always be right. I'm just really adjusting the height of that above the belt. So there's a few little things I need to do first. So we'll do those and then we'll get on and I'll demonstrate it in action. The first thing I need to do before I put it on the swing sander is to put a little bit of tension on the truss rod, just to introduce a little bit of static relief into the neck once it's machined. There's already a little bit of relief in here from when I did a similar process before I glued the neck on. So I just need to put a little bit of tension, just a couple of flats on the truss rod, not very much, which will ensure that when it's done, I have a little bit of relief, and that allows me to that's it, perfect. And when that's done, that means I can pull the neck straight with the rod, and if I need a little bit more extra relief, I can take a bit of tension off the rod and the neck will come forward. It introduces a little bit of a two-way action into a single acting truss rod. I don't particularly like two-way truss rods. They're big and heavy and you have to machine loads of wood out and they don't really sound very good. They don't ring very nicely, whereas a neck like this will, because all you've got is a very narrow, small diameter rod down the neck, and you've removed the bare minimum of wood, which is always a good thing in my opinion. So that's done. The next thing I need to do is mark the face so I can see where it's cutting, and we'll get it mounted up. of last things to check. Check that's tight. Check that's tight. And one final thing. Just check the neck is still the same as it was before. Good. That is perfect. One final thing I need to do, just to make my life a little bit easier, is to adjust to the height of this above the carriage, so I'm not bringing the neck down an angle, it's coming down nice and square. And I just use a little bit of veneer there as a feeler gauge. That's good. It's a little bit tight that end, so I just adjust that up like that. That's good. Good. I'm happy with that. That's fine. So everything's tight. Everything's as it should be. So I can now slowly start the belt up and slowly lower it down and until we are where we need to be. So on with the dust mask. And that is pretty much that. There's just one check I need to make before I take it off, but it all looks good. Everything's clean, all the pencil marks are gone. I just need to double check that it's perfect. Perfect. That looks good to me. Been about 3/1000ths, 4/1000ths of an inch, I reckon. And it's not the final finish on here because this is quite a coarse grit. Let's have a look. What grit is it? 100 grit. So it's quite coarse. So once I've finally finished shaping the neck, I go back over the board and it gets sanded and cleaned up to 320 or 400 as a final finish. So there's a tiny little bit more to come off, but up till for this point we're done. I'll take it off and we can have a look at our handiwork. is. Perfectly radiused fingerboard. Excellent. Nice. So there we go. That's it. So final clean up and that will be done. But the next stage is to finish carving the neck. It's at the moment it's a millimetre or so oversize. So I'll get to that soon. Finish carving that. And we're back over. Clean that up. Then the neck is ready for frets. Then we glue it in. Then we machine the neck pocket out, and we sand it, and we paint it, then a bit more and a bit more. So, you know, slowly we'll get there. That's it. Thank you very much for watching. Hope it was fun. Cheers, bye.